Okay, so LFG. I have got my Aries necklace on. I am ready to get down and dig deep into this mindset stuff. So this one is about my identity crisis of going from being a working professional, just having to focus on building businesses and making money, to becoming a mom. And what a wonderful transition that was. Super grateful for every day and every moment I get with my daughter. And part of that struggle was redefining what it was in my own mind to be a mom. So let's get into it. I am going to go through some information that helped me with this transition. And I think that every single parent, male or female, or a working mom, working dad, that's the primary caretaker for the child, is going to relate to this and get some value. So please like and subscribe. Please share this with anyone that needs to hear it. And let's dig in. Okay, so here we go. These are some images that I have just to define wellness. I like to use imagery to get my messaging across, and I believe imagery is super, super powerful. This is just going over some of the different areas of wellness. I tend to start with the physical part, so working out, diet, exercise, all that fun stuff. There are other areas, I'll go over that briefly here, and also talk about what the definition of wellness is. It was original modern wellness was defined by Dr. Halbert Dunn. And the working definition for the Global Wellness Institute is wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyle that lead to a state of holistic health. So there's a certain perception of wellness that is going around currently. It's a lot of white, you'll notice a lot of influencers, everything's really clean, everything's really white, everything, a lot of blondes. And it's just a green. Obviously, they use a lot of green in their marketing. Green is associated with the heart and with money and go and action. And, it's just, there's a lot of psychology around colors. So keep that in mind. And some people have a negative association with wellness as a result. I believe because some of these people are false teachers. They are teaching new age bullshit, and they are not getting to the root of the issue for people. They're just telling people to ignore all their problems and just have positive thinking. Not to say there's not any advantages to positive affirmations and positive thinking, but it can backfire. If we're just burying all of our feelings and not processing them, it can really bite us in our ass. So we've got people, when they think of wellness, don't necessarily think of this definition. They may associate it with supplements, classes, coaches, and lots of money. Okay. So this is a hurdle that oftentimes people have to get over. And so these are different areas of wellness you can focus on. It is good to pay attention to all areas of wellness, to be a complete human and to have a human experience here on planet Earth and the situations that we're in and in our environment. So we've got intellectual wellness, emotional wellness, occupational wellness, environmental wellness, social wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, and financial wellness. You can use these strategies to focus on any area of wellness. The templates are basically the same. It's just, where is your focus going? And for me personally, I've talked about this in previous presentations and teachings. I like to focus on the physical first, and then everything else is impacted in a positive way. So I me personally, I have to get my mind right around my temple, which I view as my body. And I have to do a certain amount of physical activity, and I have to do a certain amount of eating right in order to get everything else rolling. Okay. And when we are resistant, this is what it feels like to me. So this is myself pulling myself. So I am the toddler pulling on this dog, and the dog isn't sure it wants to be led by the toddler. Because sometimes we're children, right? We're not acting as adults should, or we're not being emotionally mature enough to lead ourselves. So sometimes that's where the resistance comes from. So I just really like this image. It just makes me laugh every time I see it. Okay, so just keep in mind that you have 60,000 thoughts in a day. 50, I forget where that study comes from, but it's pretty much the number that's thrown around is around 60,000 thoughts per day. We process 36,000 visual images per hour, and the average person reads 250 words per minute, 15,000 per hour. And our eyes transmit 10 million bits per second. So our brain is constantly being bombarded with information, and our brains have gotten very good at sorting the information and processing it with thoughts and feelings, which I call just emotions, just emotions. And our reaction is our emotions and the way we're feeling. And sometimes those patterns are not serving us. They're not serving us in a way that leads us to where we want to go. So in order to change where we want to go, we have to change our mind. It's that book, Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. I have thought of it in the past as change what you know and then change your outcome. So sometimes our education is so poor in a particular area, but we want to change it. Like, let's say finance, you want to change in your investments, but you don't know anything about investments. So you just start buying random stocks on the stock market and you're losing money and you don't understand why. It might be because you need some education in that area. Same with the gym. You might be going to the gym, doing the same thing over and over. You're not getting the result you want. Maybe you need some education. You need to hire a personal trainer to teach you how to work out, because your information, the knowledge that you have is insignificant in that area. With business, you're trying to start a business, but you don't know what documents you need to get in order. You might need to hire a CPA or an attorney to help you through that process, and so on and so on. Okay, it's estimated that the average person sees somewhat between 200 and 1,000 ads per day. There are higher numbers. There's like crazy numbers, like 10,000. However, this comes from like an ad blocker. So the 200 comes from an ad blocker, and then a 1,000 comes from another study that was more conservative, that I felt was more accurate and just took in more aggregate information when determining the number. So it could be more, it could be less, but that's just something to keep in mind, that everybody knows you're constantly, when I say you're constantly bombarded all day with ads, you're like, yeah, I'm watching this YouTube video and I just watched an ad. I'm watching TV and I got an ad. I'm looking on my phone on Instagram, and while you scroll on Instagram, you probably got 10 ads in 10 minutes, right? And even if it's not really an ad, it's an influencer trying to sell you something through their post, through their picture. So there's so many ways, billboards, on and on, radio, on and on and on and on, right? We all agree we get a lot of input. And so making sure that our brains are not globbing onto bad information. So a lot of times you have to clean that out. You might be getting information from an ad that says you can lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks of body fat. And so you are internalizing that and believing it, but it may not be realistic. So you might come into this process thinking, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds of body fat in the first 2 weeks. You might, if you're doing a lot of fasting and you're not eating. But how sustainable is that? You're not bringing logic in. You're just bringing what you know, or the most recent information that flashed across your screen. Subconsciously, you took that in, and now you're basing your decision making and your goal setting and your evaluation of how good you're doing in your diet based off of some information that you don't even really know how it got there, and information that's basically unrealistic and false. Okay. So prioritize. So as I went through this identity crisis, I had all these new things I had to do. I had to get the kid a bath. I had to learn how to feed the kid. I had to breastfeed. I had a huge learning curve, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And I was scared to death to even put the kid in the bathtub. I thought I was going to break it. So, and I didn't know if I was breastfeeding right. Am I even doing this right? You can't even see if like the kid's getting anything because your boob's not clear. Like a bottle, at least with a bottle, you can see, oh, they drink 4 ounces. But with a boob, you're like, are they even getting anything? Is anything coming out? And the next thing you know, I'm getting anxiety because I'm worried that nothing's coming out. And then now I'm in an anxiety loop about getting anxiety. And then my anxiety may be causing the breasts to close off and not produce any milk. It is a mess. Oh my goodness, there's so many things around this topic. So I had to slow down and assess my new situation and my new set of circumstances, because I tried to plan before the thing happened, before the baby got in the room, got home with us, but I had no idea. Really, I had no idea. So now I had all these things I had to do: housework, dinner, cleaning, still making money, still trying to spend this time with my family. Like my husband didn't need a lot of time, he needed like an hour a day, And so now I have this thing that needs my attention all the time. So time management, which I had used to be successful in the past, was a complete shit show, because I was in this huge learning curve. I was learning how to be a mom, and I'm sure I was terrible at it. I didn't really know what I was doing. I shouldn't say I was terrible at it, but you know what I mean? Like when you first start, you've got this learning curve in any skill. A skill set of a mom is like, whoa, a lot of stuff, right? And it's all day. It's like, you don't, like if you're sick, you don't get to just sit in bed, and call in. Yeah, you call in to work and you get to stay home, but the kid's still there. Like you don't get to just rest all day. So when I would get sick, now I'm sick for 2 weeks instead of 2 days because I'm not able to rest. So anyway, you've got all these things, you're overburdened. I use fire in the background of this slide because that's how it feels when you're learning a new task, and especially, or a new job, and especially a 24/7 job like being a mom. And you've got it feels like a million priorities, everything is pulling my attention. I need to make money. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a roof over my head, but I need to give the kid food, and the kid's screaming in the background, and I can't make a business call until the kid calms down. So I got to get her settled down before I can make this call. And just all these things that people are dealing with right now, and have been dealing with for the past 2 years. We have more working at home. I have worked from home in the past before Corona, and thank God I did. Thank God I had a lot of that set up, my office situation set up. And I knew how to technically do that in the IT world. However, to do that with now a baby was a totally new experience. How to prioritize when everything is important and on fire. Everything is on fire, okay? So taking a step back, and you have to make time when the baby is asleep. It's the only time you have for quiet and meditation. I strongly recommend some kind of meditation, even if it's just 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Sit down with a pen and paper, give yourself a score from 1 to 10 for each area or initiative. These are just some questions that I came up with that may be good questions. So you might want to get out a pen and paper and grade yourself from 1 to 10. Do you communicate well? 10 being the best and 1 being the worst. Am I consistent? Am I showing up consistently? Do I have one day where I'm all put together and the next day my hair is on fire and I didn't even have time to take a bath? Am I consistent? This can be inconsistent in any area. Okay, so you can even chunk it out to different areas if you want. You can chunk it out to, am I consistent at work? Am I consistently giving my kid a bath every day? Am I consistently giving myself a bath every day? Am I consistently taking the dog on a walk? Am I consistently doing X, Y, and Z? And write out all those things that you want to be consistent with and give yourself a score. Okay. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but also making sure that you know how much time each of those things are taking you. And that's what I'm going to show you in here, that something I had to go through. I had to write it all out and say, okay, bath is taking me an hour. Doing an exercise in the backyard I'm using that half an hour. And I would come up with like a point system. And then you realize that you don't have time for all the shit that you want to do in one day. There's literally not enough time unless you don't sleep, which as a mom, especially when I was nursing, I needed 8 hours, even though I wasn't getting it. If you deprive yourself too much of rest, you're not going to be able to provide food literally for the baby. And now you're going to have to spend more resources, right? I was buying freaking Holly formula from Germany for $50 a pop to make sure my kid was getting the best formula when my boobs stopped working, because I had guilt around boobs not functioning properly. All right, so am I consistent? In what areas do I want to be consistent in? Trust level. On a scale from 1 to 10, that's a typo. On a scale from 1 to 10, do I trust myself? So do I trust myself to do what I said I was going to do? I said I was going to complete this presentation by Friday at 2 p.m. Do I trust myself to figure out how to get that done, even if I have to wake up 2 hours early to work on it? Do I trust myself to be a good mom and take care of my kid and make good decisions? And there could be a bunch of different categories for this one too. Do I trust my spouse? Do I trust my spouse that when I say I have a meeting at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, am I going to be able to leave the child with that person and not get a guilt trip or not get any pushback? Am I going to be able to rely on my spouse during this period for X, Y, or Z? And again, this could tie back into communication. Maybe you're telling your spouse 15 minutes before you have to leave. That's not fair. So you want to make sure that you've got the communication down with that as well. Do I trust God? Do I trust a higher power creator? Some people are going to turn me off right now, and that's fine. There is a higher power. There is a God, creator, whatever you want to call it, the universe, whatever term you want to use. But, there's laws here on planet Earth. And if you believe that humans make all the laws, then, you're an idiot, because there is gravity. There's all sorts of physics laws that exist that only a master of the universe could create and set into place, including morality. So if you are really tripping out on that question, there's a lot of work to do. And this presentation probably won't help you very much. And I'm not sorry, hashtag sorry, not sorry. It's the truth. And I'm going to always be honest with you, and as honest as I can with myself about when, especially when talking about this mind work, and when we're working through processes like this, we have to be honest with people we respect. And I respect you, people that watch this video, and I will continue to be as honest and forthcoming and transparent as I can. So there's a power greater than ourselves. If you have a higher power is often used, or creator, or universe. Some people have a problem with the term God. It's a definition, it's a word with a definition that mean all of the following, creator, higher power, universe, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I use the word God, all uppercase. Do I trust friends? Do I trust family? Basically the support system around you. Okay. And that might be something that ends up changing. Not, obviously your family can't really change, but you might have a new set of friends that come in as you're working towards a goal. So if you are, for instance, going to the gym more often, you're going to run into new people there that have similar goals and similar challenges. And so you may end up with a new set of friends as a result to use in your network and in your circle. Do you have flexibility in your planning? So this can be a positive or a negative, but you do need to give yourself grace as you're transitioning into a new version of yourself. And as you plan, you may have a plan for today that every hour of your day is accounted for, and it doesn't happen. Maybe half the things don't happen because something came up, your car broke down, crisis at work, your kid got sick. I mean, there are all these things that can happen. You do have to offer some grace, allow yourself to scrap the day and reorganize your calendar to adjust to life and circumstances that happen outside of your control. Okay. Am I underperforming or under earning? Look at your assessment of what you are currently making and your performance, and decide and make an assessment of that, scale of 1 to 10. Do I give my goals enough time? Sometimes I see people follow a weight loss program for 3 days and say, oh, I didn't lose any weight, and they scrap it. You need to give yourself at least 30 days to determine whether or not, and make mistakes during the process, right? You're going to eat the wrong thing, or you're going to not plan right and fall off the tracks, and get back up on it the next day. Be as consistent as you can be for 30 days, and then reassess your goal and reassess your meal plan. Okay. So are you giving up too quickly? Scale of 1 to 10. Do you give yourself enough time? Do you give your goals too much time? Are you trying the same thing for 6 months, still not reaching your goal, and you just believe so much that if you continue to do this, it is going to work out eventually? If it's been 6 months, it's probably time to scrap it and try something else. Okay. In that category, in the category of diet. There are other categories where 6 months is like, okay, dude, you're not giving yourself enough time, right? Do I have knowledge and skills I need to achieve my goal on a scale of 1 to 10? So be honest with yourself. You might think you're amazing. You might think that, and you are amazing, but you may not be amazing at that thing, that new thing that you're trying. You might have to put more time into developing your knowledge and skill in an area to achieve your goal. Is the tech you're using serving you? And can you improve it to improve time, quality, and cost? So these can be broken out into different categories as well. I brought up tech because it is such a huge time saver, and there may be tech that you are afraid to learn, that you need to learn in order to accomplish your goal or be more efficient or make more time in your day, and you're just resistant to it. So you have to look at that too. If you're completely tech savvy and you give yourself a 10, okay, this isn't an area for you to focus on. If you give yourself a 1, then this might be an area where you could get a lot out of spending time learning a new piece of tech. Okay, so as you do your 1 to 10 analysis, the areas that you scored the lowest in are candidates for your initiatives, right? So your lowest score might be the place to go first. Okay, you might want to put that one first, or sometimes, you know, the one that's 5 down the list is the best one because it'll take you 10 hours to work on and get that up to an 8. You could go from like a 4 to an 8, double that proficiency in that initiative, and then you can focus on the next one. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. But often it's suggested, you know, pick the one you scored lowest on, get that one up to above a 5, and then move to the next one. Okay, and then maybe keep going through the process and keep reassessing every year or so. It doesn't have to be, this assessment process doesn't have to happen all the time. This in-depth assessment process might be once a quarter, once a year, once every 6 months, something like that. Okay, goals and deliverables. So in project management, you do pick your initiatives, and then you pick your top initiative and you focus on one at a time. And I believe we should do that in our personal lives as well. And then determine milestones as you work through that initiative. Be realistic in your time and completion. So if your initiative is to lose 10 pounds, and you have no experience in that area, you're probably best off putting that as number 1 and taking away from your other initiatives and your other responsibilities in your life and making extra time for that learning curve. So as you move through this, you're going to have a hypothesis on what's going to work. I want to lose 10 pounds, so I'm going to eat X, Y, and Z for the next 30 days. And I believe I can lose 5 pounds in 30 days if I do this. So that's for 2 months. You practice it, you know, give yourself a week, 2 weeks, evaluate every 2 weeks or so. So if I want to lose 5 pounds in 30 days, after 2 weeks, I should be down like 2, maybe 3 pounds, right? And if not, then maybe I need to reassess what I'm eating and how much exercise I'm putting in to achieve that goal and adjust as needed. Okay, so this is what I did during my identity crisis. So I had this big list of things I needed to do, and I would do them. I would do a lot of them and still feel like I did nothing at the end of the day. Okay, so what I had to do, because I had always on my calendar put in items related to work. It was very work driven for my calendar, because that's all I really had to focus on was work. I had work, gym on my calendar, and maybe some meal prep and things like that. But I didn't have this other human that I had to take care of. So I realized as I was beating myself up for what I perceived as failing every single day for months on end, and I'm like, this doesn't feel good. I don't feel like myself. I feel awful. And so I had to write out all the things that I was doing and associate a value to that item. So because moms, we do not get paid for being a mom. So obviously if I work and I make 10 new sales, I get paid a monetary amount. There's a value, a hard value associated with that work I did. If I'm a mom and I give my kid a fun bath every day, I don't get $100 bonus, right? If I do a great job at being a mom and make dinner, an amazing dinner every night, I don't get a bonus for that. I don't get a monetary value assigned to that. So because there was no monetary value, I wasn't valuing it internally for the task. So I had to give myself that value, and I had a goal for what my daily inventory values would be. Okay. And I had a scoring system too on this. I don't know where that is. I don't remember what I gave myself for each thing. And I think I had different amounts for different things. but I did have a grand total. So if I didn't do something, I got a negative. If I did do something, I got a plus, and then I would total it out at the end. And I had a minimum goal every day of like 15, right? If I get a 15, that'll be if I get above a 15, that's an amazing day. If I get below 15, wow, that was probably a really bad day. And what do I need to do to make sure I can fit all these things in, right? Because there's reading for me, and then there's reading for Ava. There's writing for me, and now there's writing for Ava. There's exercise for me, and now there's exercise for Ava and the dogs, right? And that responsibility falls on me as the mother. So I had all these extra items, and I wasn't understanding why I wasn't getting as much done at work, and trying to give myself some grace for this learning curve I was going through of being a mom, and also learning how to make time to take care of myself in the process, and not beating myself up for spending time on these things, other things I had to do, and assigning a value, reframing in my mind, and creating value around the mom tasks. Okay, because nobody's getting paid for being a mom. So constantly adjusting the toggles. As we adjust the toggles, we are adjusting the scope. And so this has to do with project management. There's a scope of a project. And when you make changes, you are sacrificing quality, schedule, and cost a lot of times. So you may be able to get your quality really high, but it's going to take more time, or it's going to cost more. You may have something cost less and it gets done really fast, but the quality suffers, right? So these are all things that you take into account when you're working on your initiatives, and how quickly you want to get to your initiatives, and the quality of work you want to do, whether that has to do with technology, or learning a new skill, or getting a coach to help you speed up the process. These are all things that you can consider when you are looking at your initiatives. These are just some project management terms, and these are productivity measurements. So lack of skill, like we talked about, lack of technology, relationships, commitment, and physical conditions. So these are all items that can be deterring you from being successful in your goals. All right, and some technology that you can use to track your food. We all use technology every day. This is just an example of how technology can help you in your tasks and getting to your goal. So how, we just went over a lot of the how. It's the brain dump. It's a questionnaire or assessment determining your goals, values, and objectives, mapping it out. It's like eating an elephant, right? You have to prioritize. What's your initiative? What's your number one priority? Use your calendar, block it all out. Use time blocking to figure out when you can dedicate what time to what. Like, is it the gym? Is it creative time to build a business? Is it exercise time? Is it meditation time? You know, when are you going to do these things, and what is it? How does it work for you? Learning new skills, time blocking education, right? Time blocking and also giving yourself some runway when you are learning the new skill, right? Depending on the complexity of the skill, like learning to be a mom, there might be a little bit longer of an on-ramp. Some people take to it really fast. I didn't. Okay, I took a long time, and I'm still figuring it out. Use what you have to the max. So use the technology you have. Everybody has a phone. There are free apps on this phone. Use the technology you have. Like, there's a health app on here. You can track your steps, right? If you're at 3,000 steps now, try to get to 5,000. Try to think of what technology and resources you have now that you're not using to the max before you go out and you spend more resources on brand new stuff, right? You want to make sure you're using what you have first. And if it's not working, then get the new thing. But you want to try to make sure that you are using what you have. assess and stop lying to yourself. You know, just looking in the mirror and being honest with your goals, your timelines, your values, and how much time things are actually going to take. And if they're taking too long, being honest with yourself with that as well. Okay, found this wonderful saying, and they missed the R. I think it had an R in it, so I put it there. Plan your work and work your plan. Okay, plan to work and work your plan. And then the stages, life stages of a life cycle of a project. So you have the initiation stage, right? That's where you get your goals and your objectives, just like in any prioritization in your life. This doesn't just apply to businesses, this applies to you, your household as a business. The planning stage, right? Then you plan, how am I going to meet that goal? How much time am I going to put towards that goal? And then you take action. And eventually, you know, you kind of sit in here and do your assessment, like that flow chart I showed before, where you're executing, assessing, executing, assessing. And then at some point you will reach that goal reached. And then you go through the initiative assessment all over again to figure out, okay, now that I went from a 1 to a 6 in my first initiative on my scoring myself on communication, let's say, now what's 1? What's dropped to 1, or what's my next goal to work on that's going to give me the most bang for my buck and time and the highest level of wellness, holistic wellness. Okay, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, the whole 9. All right, so I've got some links down below if you have any questions, if you want copies of any of the materials I went over today. I am looking forward to hearing from you. Please like and subscribe. Please share this video with somebody that you think will find it useful. And I have some weight loss programs down below if you're interested, and I will talk to you soon.